The St. Louis Cardinals, we mentioned that the Forbes valuations were out, and the Cardinals had an increase of 9% up to $2.45 billion.
Yep.
Forbes estimated they did have an operating loss, and I think that was true of just about every team because teams were still getting over sort of the lingering effects of COVID. Because you remember ballparks weren't fully open last season.
Correct.
For a long time. So their operating income was in the negative, but the franchise valuation went up. I felt it was important to include that part to be fair, like in how their operating income was in the red. But again, that was a baseball thing. That was a society thing. That was a business everywhere type thing, as we were still coping with the effects of COVID-19. Anyway, but the other thing we should never forget when we talk about the Cardinals and money and finances and how wealthy they are and things like that, and I don't begrudge any wealthy people. I wish I could be wealthy. I have a good personal relationship with Bill DeWitt. It doesn't mean that I will hold back what I want to say when I want to say it when it's warranted. So in this case, you got to go back to the very beginning because it still, to me, is one of the greatest deals in the history of sports for a transaction. When Bill DeWitt and partners bought the Cardinals from Anheuser-Busch, which gave them a discount price anyway, because they wanted it in the right hands. They wanted to sell it to St. Louis guys who love Cardinals baseball. And I'll always appreciate Anheuser-Busch for that part of it because we've had so many bad ownership experiences over the years in St. Louis that, the one thing, even if people are disappointed in the Cardinals in some way or the Blues in some way, we've never had it better in terms of the quality of the ownership of the two franchises at the same time. We just haven't. And anybody would dispute that. I really wouldn't understand why you would. Given the Blues' flirtations with bankruptcy and moving out of town and just constant hemorrhaging financially and shaky ownership, what Stillman and his partners have done is stabilize this franchise like never before. And even though the Cardinals frustrate me with some things, as I've said many times, this has been a fantastic run of baseball that has stretched over a quarter of a century since DeWitt and company bought the team. The facts on that are indisputable. Now, that said, getting back to one of the greatest sports deals of all time, when you subtract what they did after they bought the team, they sold the two parking garages down there. So after you add the money that they collected for selling the parking garages that came with the deal, they were part of the Cardinals purchase, you take that revenue and then you deduct it from what you paid for the Cardinals, the whole kit and caboodle. They got the Cardinals franchise for a net of $95 million. They bought the franchise after flipping the garages.
Yep.
A net of $95 million, no more than $100 million, I know that. Because I've seen it listed at 100, I've seen it listed as 95, somewhere around that range. So when you look now and you see that it's the value's $2.45 billion or whatever I said, I mean, wow. You ain't going to do much better than that. And, Commissioner Manfred was trying to tell us that, well, our owners would do better if they just played the stock market rather than owning a team. I don't think so. I don't think turning $95 million into almost $2.5 billion. I don't think you would have done better than that. That's just me.
It's silly to even throw it out there.
I know.
When they
right?
make those statements, Bernie, you just go, "Shut up." Just don't stop talking. Don't try and like you're going to sell me a bill of goods like you got me fooled because I already know you're full of it.
Right.
So
no doubt about it. Hey, I wanted to talk about a little OLI MARMO'S, something that Will Leach and I were riffing on, but also, Katie Wu wrote a really good story at The Athletic. It's up there now, but I think my memory and me waking up and jumping into action as far as starting to read stuff, I believe it was this morning. Yeah, I think it was absolutely this morning. I'm laughing at myself here. She wrote a piece about how Marmol is doing and some of the impressions and like what's been important in camp as far as the rookie manager showing his personality and his management style and how he's going to go about things. And there were a lot of really positive reviews there from Adam Wainwright and others, but especially Wainwright, Skip Schumacher, a lot of people talking about him. Now, number one, let me preface this by saying, of course they're going to be positive. What do you like Waino's going to rip him? I mean, we know that, right? But there was a sincerity in the remarks, and all the remarks sort of came from the same place. So I thought, he's already won these people over, and he hadn't lost a game yet, but he's really won that place over as far as the people who work there. And I think their affection is genuine because, Schilt did not end he didn't walk away from this job or got fired from the job, but he didn't leave the job in the best shape in terms of some of the relationships because he just sort of did this, pardon my minor profanity, he just sort of went into this fake hard-ass mode that had, coaches and players like, well, what is he trying to do here? That's not who he is. What is this all about? So Marmol is a lot more, I think being perceived as a lot more genuine, and he's really, really doing a good job of tending to the garden every day. I mean, he has these conversations with players every day, and he's building trust. I mean, real conversations with many, many players. He gets to all of them in one day, maybe 2 days tops. So when Will Leach and I were talking about this earlier, and I mentioned, there's a bit of an edge to him, and it might seem like the typical spring training pablum, but I've learned how to decipher the BS, I guess. And no, there is an edge about this guy, at least right now, whether this will be sustainable or whether he'll continue during this approach. He puts it out there, and he doesn't try to sort of pull back what he believes. He puts on the table, and you can actually hear it go when it hits. It's not a soft thing. It's not where he's some maniac. But what he wants and what he expects, he makes it very, very clear. And there's a couple examples of this, right? He told Katie Wu, he said, you create a culture that either pushes people up or pushes people out. If you're not willing to come with us, you're out. Didn't hear that from Matheny. Of course, never heard it from Schilt. I mean, that's throwing down. It's just words. Yes, the actions will really matter. But that's a manager really throwing down. There's some bite. There's some edge in his comments there. And see, this is the stuff that I've been picking up on that I like. Because I think the Cardinals need that. Not that they don't care or they don't work or they're not dedicated. That's not the point. Their culture is pretty good. But at times it does get a little buddy-buddy. And at times, under multiple managers, it's gotten where the manager, I'm going to say it again, the manager's afraid of certain players, not going to get on their wrong side. That's just the way it's been. Waino, Molina, I don't think that their managers would be crazy to get on Arenado's wrong side, or I don't think they'd be wanting to do that, I meant to say. Or Goldschmidt. And Goldschmidt comes across as a quiet guy, which he is. He's understated. He wields tremendous influence down there. He's clearly one of the team leaders. And my point is, by bringing them into it, that it doesn't really, they don't matter as much. But in the past, there's managers that are just afraid. They got to make sure they take care of a few people down there for their own good. I don't think Marmol is going to fall into that trap, at least not right away. I hope he doesn't, because you got to, if you want your team to have a hard edge, and you want your team to understand that winning's the only thing that matters, and there's going to be tough decisions made, and they're not going to like some of those decisions, but it doesn't matter because it's all about the winning, or there's no reason to pursue any of this. You're going to make a good living, but it's all about the winning if you care about a legacy, things like that, or care about maxing out on your responsibility of playing baseball for the Cardinals. And you can't do that if you have separate standards for certain players. You can't do it. And so I love the fact that Marmol throws it out there like that. He just throws it down. So I could be overreacting. If people want to say that, that's fine. But I'm telling you, I'm picking up on something, and that's why I'm sharing it. And then, another thing he did, and I don't know whether this was earlier today, or, a little earlier in camp, but I think he reiterated it today when he was asked about, because everyone's hung up on the titles, closer, 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 closer. Everybody wants him to absolutely install a closer and then tell the world, this is my closer, ta-da! Because it's like media covering baseball. It's like they need that pacifier themselves for some reason. I've never cared about it. I figure if you're really good, you can close out games. The reason some people aren't good about closing out games is it's been put in their heads that unless you're the designated closer, you're out of your element or something. I mean, you talk about undermining your own talent with this silly hang-up about titles, right? Marmol, unless he's running a head fake here or he's being a phony, I don't think he is. He's got a whole different outlook on this. And he reiterated that today. He said, I want to leave spring with this. Here's how we finish games. Not just the 9th, but you have to close out the 7th. You got to close out the 8th. And yes, you got to close out the 9th. But at the moment, we will not commit to, quote, this is our 9th inning guy every time. This, my friends, has not been said ever by a Cardinals manager since I've been here, and I got here in 1985. No Cardinals manager has ever said that. And I like it because he's right. How many times do you let a game get away in the 7th inning or the 8th inning? Yeah, you have to have a good pitcher in the 9th. But if you build that depth and you make sure that everyone understands, we're not hung up on titles here. When you get the ball, you may be the guy getting the outs that win the game, even if it's in the 7th or the 8th. You develop that mentality, your team is better off. Yeah, Gallegos is going to close out a lot of games. But what is the point? What? We all sleep better at night because he has a title? I just don't understand the mentality. And I think it actually hurts the team. I just like the fact that he's throwing down, this is how it's going to be. This is what I believe. That's it. Let's go do it. Again, this is very different for a Cardinals manager so far. It really is. Actions speak louder. So we'll see how it goes during the season. But I like this.
I've liked it so far, but like you said, I'm still want to go, okay, now when we get into game mode, and it counts, I'm not talking about spring training, do you stand by that? Or will you or will you change based on, this is my first time around, I need to change this. This isn't the right way. You know what I mean?
If it blows up on you a couple times, are you going to get nervous? And you're going to hear the, stuck in the 1980s people or whatever,
right,
going nuts on forums and talk shows and all that other stuff. And then you're going to get all nervous. Yeah, that's the test. That's the real test.
Yeah.
Failure is the test.
But I do like I don't know if the right word is assertiveness, but hey, this is how we're going to go about our business. I like that as opposed to, I don't know. We'll do some of this. We're going to do some of that. I like that over there. I like this over there. That looks pretty shiny there. We could try that. But he's got his ideas down. Let's see if he can stick to them.
And he also, Katie Wu put it best. The Cardinals have had, I forget the one term she used, but she already is convinced he will have what she referred to as lineup fluidity this year, rather than this is our lineup. This is our line. We have to bat Yachty fifth, and we have to do this, and this is how we're going to do. Schilt was guilty of that, and it drove me crazy because they missed some really good matchup opportunities last year. Now, Schilt, in his defense, did not have the best bench to work with, and that's management's fault. But they missed some opportunities because Schilt was afraid. He didn't want to get players mad at him by moving them around in the lineup. And most of the players really don't care as long as they see the wisdom behind the moves. And you're going to see Marmol, I'm really convinced that he's going to be doing things differently. Now, he can only do so much based with the talent that he has, but, hey, they've got more left-handed bats. That's done for a reason. It's been done for the manager. He has no qualms about giving a kid like Juan Yepez a chance. A really good chance. instead of like, oh, we don't want to put too much on them, which is, in our experience, to me, has been like the wrong attitude to have, because you're wasting the player's time. If he's got the potential to help you, you're wasting him by batting him eighth because you think he's some kind of wimp or something. So I just, I like the way he's thinking, and the reason I'm talking about it is you can see more and more. He's revealing more and more about the way he sees things and the way he wants to do things and the way he's saying he will do things. So I welcome this. It's a refreshing change, but I'll add the obligatory, it's early, and what matters is the real baseball. When the games start to come off the schedule, that's when we will know for sure.
Shall I bring up, Paulie needs to play? Paulie needs to play? I hope we don't have that, but that's to your point.
He's
He'll
committed
get his chance, but
he's committed to giving him that chance to play shortstop, and he plays it well. But I'm talking about the hitting part.
Right.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with saying it's his job to lose. You know why? Because he has set the groundwork. He has set the baseline. He has set what the conditions are. It's his job to lose. He didn't say, like, as far as I'm concerned, he's the shortstop. There's a pretty big difference.
Oh, yeah.
So people need to pick up on the language, Oh,
I know.
And by the way, for whatever it's worth, I was looking at something today. DeYoung's exit velocity, look, I know we heard this stuff with Matt Carpenter, and in his case, 90% of the time it was totally bogus. But DeYoung's been hitting the ball. He had like a 108, couple 108 exit velocities recent in these early games. I mean, for whatever that's worth, it's a good sign. But again, let's talk beginning April the 7th, right?
Oh,
we can start to talk then, because spring training is spring training.
And that's going to be the fun part.